Favorite tool in the kitchen?
This guy, Matt Haas. No, that was a joke.
I don't know who Matt Haas is, but I love it.
We just know he's going to watch this. Probably be the first person to watch it, so that'll be good. We woke up, the New York Times article came out. We're on a plane. We fly back. We come to the restaurant that night. Insanely busy. But the last time I looked at the app that day, over 400 people had made a reservation at Birch that day for either that day or sometime in the next 90 days.
Let's go back to the beginning, Kyle. You skipped prom to work in the kitchen instead of going to prom. I mean, like at a young age, you already knew your passion.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Dang, That's a Good Story. I'm your host, Manley Haines, coming to you from Red Rooster Studios in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we dive into journeys that transform dreams into reality. Today's a treat. We've got two guys who have made serious waves in the Milwaukee restaurant scene with Birch on Pleasant. They've got stories that'll make you laugh, think, and maybe even rethink your own why. First up, Chef Kyle Knall, a guy who once skipped prom to work in a kitchen. From working under legends like Frank Stitt and Michael Anthony to opening Maysville in New York City, where he was given a prestigious 2-star rating from the New York Times dining critics. That's a huge milestone in the culinary world. Kyle is now bringing his Southern charm and Midwest grit to Birch on Pleasant, a restaurant that's earned a spot in the New York Times 50 Best list. These moments changed the course of his career forever. We'll talk with Kyle about what it took to achieve those incredible accolades and what's next on his journey for more recognition. Next up, Jeff Cleveland, Birch's general manager and sommelier extraordinaire. A hospitality pro with over 20 years of experience, a love for wine, and a quiet passion for bringing people together. He is also a tiki cocktail aficionado. More on that later. We'll dig into their stories, including a life-changing bottle of wine, a Cobra's Fang cocktail challenge, and even a fan question about Kyle's signature dish and when he's headed to beat Bobby Flay. So let's jump right in with some rapid-fire warm-ups and get to know these two. Hey, welcome, folks, to Dang, That's a Good Story. I got some really good friends here, Kyle Knall and Jeff from Birch on Pleasant.
Jeff Cleveland, like the city.
Chef Cleveland, like the city. Cheers, you guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. We're going to let our viewers get a chance to know you guys, and by starting out with a bunch of rapid-fire questions, and I just want some good answers to what this stuff means to you. Jeff, I'm going to start with you first, and you're each going to do it, but I'm going to switch to Jeff first and see if we can get him to smile a little bit here.
Did you get those extra questions that I slid in for you to ask them?
Yeah, I did. Biggest pet peeve in the restaurant world? Could be a miscommunication, a misnomer, something that bugs you about your work environment or how people look at it, whatever you guys want.
My biggest pet peeve, and it can happen in a restaurant, a coffee shop, in a grocery store, in Walmart, or wherever. If you're walking out the door and you walk by someone that works in that operation and they don't turn to say, bye, have a nice day, it just drives me crazy.
That's a hospitality issue right there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that work in the restaurant industry and are just cranky about it all the time, it's a wrong job to be that way. Just go find something else to do.
Yeah. Find a new passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's not it.
Because that's not passion.
That's not it.
Which is like I think Jeff brings that up because I feel like we talk about it all the time. It's a huge percentage of people in our industry who act like they hate what they do, but supposedly it makes them happier than anything they do. So why are you having a hard time with making people happy?
But there are people that love conflict, and they love to highlight conflict.
Right.
And so that's their way of communicating. So that doesn't necessarily mean that that's just the way they communicate, and they're wired to communicate in that fashion, to bring that out. But in your industry, just like other industries, yours is such the time constraints, everything that you have to do, the late nights, the drive, the controlled chaos.
Right. But at the same time, I say this all the time. When I go to work, So we have 2 kids, 2 and a 5-year-old. My wife stays home with them at the moment. She basically gives me a middle finger when I go to work because she's like, "You're going to have fun and do what you love."
Yeah.
I'm staying home with the kids and actually working. The point is, like, yeah, it's long hours and stuff, but like, if you love it, it's just fun.
Oh gosh, I hope nobody looks back at this and says, "Hey, but I don't love my kids." But really, she should be home loving her kids and be super happy she gets. To
Oh
stay
no,
home.
she 100% is.
I twisted that around just because that's who I am. That was me twisting that around. Kyle didn't say any of that. Jeff, anything to add on that?
No,
Humor right
mine.
there. Oh goodness.
Megan does love her
he's not-
kids.
Megan, I'm sorry. I just twisted that around for fun. Favorite tool in the kitchen?
This guy, Matt Haas.
There you go. Not a physical utensil, but a person.
No, that was a joke.
I don't know who Matt Haas is, but I love it.
We just know he's going to watch this. Probably be the first person to watch it, so that'll be good.
Okay.
But Sophie, give us 2 claps if you agree. No, favorite tool is definitely microplane.
Microplane.
Yep.
There you go. Making nice, thin, tasty morsels of
Yeah. I mean, microplane 100% for me.
Yeah. Jeffrey, you got a favorite tool. Is it a person?
No, not a person.
Not a person.
I've worked in a lot of restaurants. I've worked in some great restaurants. I feel like I've learned. I love to cook, and I've loved to cook for a long time. I feel like I've learned more about cooking and how to make good food working at Birch. Part of it's the open kitchen. You get to stand and see what they're doing, but I feel like I've been able to be included in more things. One of the microplane things is citrus and doing that, and I've just learned about, putting lemon on food and making food brighter and fresher. I still remember the first thing I ate at Birch, the very first time I visited there before I worked there, was the Contremar-inspired fish. And the citrus and the herbs, I felt like I had never eaten food like that in my whole life. And feel like those 2 things have changed the way I cook at home. So
That's amazing. One of my pre-questions was, and Jeff's answer was, he wants to learn how to cook a steak. He doesn't feel like he cooks a steak very well. And I'm kind of wondering, after seeing the beautiful open kitchen, which brings me, like the first time I met you guys and I walked in and saw that you got a wood-fired grill going back in that hole in the wall. How are you doing this? And you were talking to me about that. It just blew me away because I'd never seen anything like it. But that's an ultimate opportunity to cook a really nice steak.
yeah.
So have you ever met him?
Maybe he'll show me
Have
one
you ever
day.
met
I don't
him?
know.
I think he can probably show you how to cook a really good steak. It was this one thing that jumped out at me, like, Jeff put down that he wants to learn how to
I
cook a
didn't
good
get that
steak.
question, I think, in my pre-interview. Did I?
No, that was his answer
Oh.
to a question.
What
He
was the
wanted to-
question?
I don't remember what it
Oh.
was, but I remember the answer. I wanted to learn
Something I wanted to learn to perfect.
Yeah, something
or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
Yeah, something like that. So, and I was like,
This
cook
week.
a mean steak.
Yeah.
I've always tried that crazy cast iron pan where you're flipping the butter over the
Right.
top of it, but
Which some can argue that is better than fire.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's a different way.
Yeah, I think one of the most ideal ways is cast iron pan on a fire
Yeah.
because it gets
It's a higher temperature. Right?
hotter, but then you're picking up some of that flavor from the smoke as well.
Yep.
But then your sear is like completely 100%.
Yeah, because of the heat that you're
Yeah.
generating from
Yeah, yeah.
the open fire.
Yep.
The open fire is amazing to me. And again, I think I asked you a bunch of dumb questions like, where are you getting this wood from?
Yeah.
What on earth is happening here? Like when I walked in that first time, and we were talking about pizza and not what you were doing. And I'm asking
Right.
you questions about your thing. Have you ever thought about putting a pizza steel on that on your open fire and trying to do a pizza?
So we do have these like steel or iron like flat pans.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like completely cast iron. That's how we cook our tortillas, actually.
Okay.
We cook those on the flat top over the
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I got a pizza steel a long time ago because we loved it too. Since the kids are little, make homemade pizzas with all the toppings and stuff.
Right.
Maybe that's what got Sophie interested in the and stuff. Sophie's hiding behind the camera here. She doesn't want to get involved. But we always did all this, and we still do it today. All this home cooked pizza and the pizza steel in the oven. Get that
Yeah.
thing up to 550 degrees. Get it warmed up for 45 minutes. What
So
it does
that
to the crust is
like
crazy.
from a scientific standpoint, that works better than if you put that on our fire because you need the
Consistent.
the radiant heat around it, not just the bottom part.
Gotcha.
So you could probably actually cook a better pizza in the oven at home than you could on our hearth.
Sure. Just always thought it would be interesting to give it a whirl.
Yeah.
This has been in my mind. Sorry. All right, I'll move on to the questions that are really here, not my own. All right. Favorite wine region or pairing?
That's a question.
Question.
Favorite wine region? I love France. I love visiting France. I love French wine. I love everything about France. I would say if I had to pick, that's a tough question. If I had to pick a favorite, I would probably. Oh, there's too many. It's hard to narrow it down to just one.
You have too many favorite kids.
Similar to that, I guess.
How do you pick a favorite kid?
I would probably pick the Jura. I think their wines are unique compared to other places. I think it would be an interesting place to visit, but if I picked a favorite, that would be it.
Give us an idea where.
Jura is on between Burgundy and like the Swiss Alps.
Okay.
It's an older winemaking region with some unique ways of, be boring to talk about, but some unique ways of making wine that not everybody else does. And I think unique is the word I keep saying, but that's what I like about them. So
Awesome. Love it.
Kyle, what's your favorite wine region?
What's your favorite wine region or wine pairing, or what do you just rely on Jeff to help you? I think you
I
have
just
a good,
rely on Jeff.
I think he should have been your tool.
Kyle texts me every Saturday night or Sunday night, tells me what he's cooking and asks for advice on wine.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks ago, I answered him, and then he said, well, ChatGPT said I should do this. So I think I'm out of a job. But
Oh, jeez. You're onto that ChatGPT
Yeah.
shit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty wild, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Helps us brain work, you know?
Yeah, I like it. But still, back to the question.
Probably cassis. No, Burgundy.
Burgundy?
Yeah, I love white Burgundy.
You love white burgundy.
Yeah.
which is what
It's
we're
kind of
drinking today.
It's kind of a douchey thing to say, but when it's good, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But I do love cassis. That's what we're naming the next restaurant after.
Next restaurant.
Yeah.
How soon is that opening?
October this year.
October.
Yeah.
Not a firm date, but a ish.
Yeah,
date?
in October.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Sometime in October. All right. Favorite motivational quote? If you're into quotes. If you're not into quotes and you don't really follow that, but
give me a second. Ask Kyle first.
all right.
Let me see
You're
if
allowed to take out your phone too and ask a friend if you need to.
I left it across the
ask
room.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. You can phone a friend.
So I think there's two pains in life: the pain of disappointment and the pain of discipline. If you can deal with the pain of discipline, then you'll never have to deal with the pain of disappointment.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a
Wow, that's impressive.
That's good, Ellie. You rattled that off too.
Yeah.
That should be on your wall somewhere, hiding back there.
It used to be. I used to tape it down to like the pass where the plates go out. At the restaurant in New York, I would tape that down. It's a Nick Saban quote.
I like it.
Yeah, it's good.
I like it. Yeah.
Jeff, what you got?
Feel like
The pressure's on.
this
sorry.
quote sort of forms everything I want our restaurants to be, and I've heard it for a lot of my life, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I feel like at the restaurant, what we are successful at and what we continue to be more successful at is truly caring for the people that come in. Restaurant needs to make money to succeed. The restaurant needs to, all of these things. But most people, if not everybody who works for us, comes to work every day to show people that visit us that we truly care about them. And I think that's what makes people be such big fans of Birch. So
Yeah, I'd agree. Definitely a comfortable environment, and you felt well cared for
Yeah.
when you're at. And I'm not saying that because I'm biased, maybe a little biased, but I've been there a few times and love it and enjoy it. And
Got us a seat here, right?
yeah.
I love it, and I'm just happy you guys are here because I'm truly interested in finding out how we got here. We got a couple more questions, and then we're going to start talking about where we started and how we got to where we're at today, and
Great.
if you had that magic wand, what would you do different? Jumping ahead, sorry. All right, these aren't on my list, but they're questions that are that I've been thinking about. You guys are not native Milwaukeeans, and we talked about this. Like, it kind of blew me away when I came into your restaurant the first time. I wasn't expecting necessarily to see this in Milwaukee. You guys have both come from different backgrounds. You've gone through a lot of places, worked at a lot of places. So the big question is, how do you guys like Milwaukee? That's a loaded question, so hopefully you have the good, politically correct answer. But
My wife and I, whenever we had traveled, when we lived in New York, we'd travel somewhere. We'd land back in New York, and in a cab on the way to our apartment, we'd always say to each other, we live in the best place in the world. And that's how I feel about my life here in Milwaukee.
yeah,
So I love it.
I've lived here most of my adult life. I love living in Milwaukee. I think it's a great city. There are things that I always compare it to other cities, or things I wish it had or didn't have or whatever, but I love living in Milwaukee. I don't imagine moving away. So
there you go. Love it. I love Milwaukee. I love Wisconsin. Been here a long time. Love this place, and been to a lot of big cities. Haven't lived in big cities like you have, so I don't know that. I don't know if I can take all that hustle and bustle that happens, but love it. All right, so let's switch gears here a little bit, and I'm going to direct a couple questions towards Kyle, and I'm trying to find out a little bit about how you got started. What was this drive? But there's something that jumps out at me. Like, let's go back to the beginning, Kyle. You skipped prom to work in the kitchen instead of going to prom. I mean, like, at a young age, you already knew your passion.
Yeah.
Thought you knew it, or
No, for sure. So I was lucky enough. I think I was 14. I was 15. This restaurant that my brother and sister worked at. My brother worked in the kitchen. My sister was a server. Years later, I worked there in the summer as like a waiter's assistant, basically a busboy. And I did that during my school year, Friday and Saturday. That summer, I started working the salad station at lunch. And I loved it. I remember the GM saying to the other manager, hey, go taste that dressing that Kyle made. So that made, that was like one of the first times I was like, wow, I felt very proud. And I was like, wow, this feels good. And that hasn't really ever happened with baseball or basketball or anything. So my brother said, oh, if you want to do this for real, come work for us. And he worked at a fine dining American restaurant, kind of fancy, dinner only, celebrational type restaurant. And so I started cooking at that restaurant when I was a junior in high school, and kind of didn't turn back from there. But the whole prom story, like, I never did good in school. I cared about other things. And I was in class one day, and one of the coaches was our teacher. And I remember him finding out that he had actually gone to eat at the restaurant I was working at called Daniel George. And prom came up somehow, and he found out that I worked there, and was so blown away by the fact, and said, like, I think he was pissed off at class one day and said, look at this kid, look at Kyle. He already knows what he wants to do in life, and look what he's already doing it. So that really was like the next step of like me understanding, okay, this is what I want to do. That made me feel very proud. And so all the kids in that class went to Daniel George for dinner before prom. I wasn't going to go to prom. I didn't like the high school I went to, and like I didn't give a. I didn't. When we cuss on here,
yeah, you can say all the cuss words you want, shit, all that shit.
Yeah. But I didn't care about. I didn't care about it anyway. And these kids, they didn't care. I mean, they were too cool for me. But that dinner, they said, "Oh, can you have Kyle come out and say hello to us?" And so I was 15, and I went out in the dining room of this fancy restaurant to say hi to these kids that were like, I don't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh, this is cool. You know? So it was those little moments that really made me think, okay, I'm definitely going to stick with this.
Gave you a wild pat on the back, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It gave me like, yeah. I mean, I hate the stories of like, I hate more than anything the Anthony Bourdain type stories where chefs and cooks and restaurant people find their restaurant because they're degenerate and party hard and it was their opportunity. Like, yes, that's the case, but I hate that story.
Yeah.
I like the story of this is what we love and we want to be doing this and it makes us happy and taking care of people. But it was that moment when I was really young where it was like, great.
It's kind of one of those things that the restaurant industry has a reputation of some of that.
Right.
And to try to, if there's anything I'm peeved about the restaurant, like that might be the overall perception. That's not the case. These are people are striving hard to work at a craft, and the craft that's trying to show other people love through hospitality, which is what you're amazing at to bring that forward. And you've already talked about it a bunch.
Yeah.
And what you're doing. So
For sure.
yeah. Jeff, what do you got?
What was the question again? So enthralled with the story. I didn't skip prom. I didn't go to
It
prom
wasn't
either,
a
so.
question. I was talking about Kyle's beginning. I got stuck in there, but that's all good. Jeff, you worked at some serious spots in California to Milwaukee. When did you realize this was my path?
I feel like I've had an interesting path, but I used to be a manager at the Apple store, and I was halfway decent at my job. People that worked for me, I was a manager. People liked working for me. I was the manager they came to if they needed help with a difficult situation or whatever. But in my own head, at that job, I was mentally watching the clock. When can I get home and do something else that I want to do? I was not. I liked Apple products at the time. I still do, but I was not passionate about it. And through a series of events, I ended up working at a restaurant, and then I ended up working at a bar. And it wasn't so much the restaurant or the bar, but it was taking care of people or hospitality that I was like, okay, this is the first job I've ever had that I don't watch the clock at. And then looking back on it, hospitality is something I learned when I was 13 years old from my parents, who are to this day the most hospitable people I've ever known in life. And I realized that much of what comes to me naturally, I learned just from watching them. And so I can trace this path of this all the way back to being a kid. But it wasn't until I did it in a restaurant, bar setting that I was like, okay, this is something I can be excited to do. If I have to work for a living, this doesn't feel like work. So
Love that. That's awesome. What were the little hints along the way that told you I'm on the right track? And so you switched gears from Apple and got into the restaurant industry and the hospitality industry deeper than you were at Apple. What were those little aha moments that made you think, I'm really enjoying this and I'm going to continue down this path? Because from there, taking your first bar restaurant and now to working at this wonderful restaurant, completely different animal, correct?
yeah,
And you have
for
a
sure.
different role, correct?
For sure.
What were those things that took you down the path that made you feel like along the way? Can you reflect on that, or is that something you don't?
It's funny. I didn't have aha moments so much as when the time for something was approaching the end, I feel like there was always a little bit of a leap of faith to the next thing. There were times that I took a step backwards, but it felt like the right step at the time to get me to the next step, and then very quickly was able to move ahead in that role. That I'm not feel like this story isn't making much sense or is hard to connect the dots to, but I was not afraid to take a leap of faith for something that I feel like for most people trying to, adult would have thought that it was silly. Why would you take a step backwards? Why would you move across the country when you don't know what you're going to do when you get there? But it was not being afraid to take that leap of faith, and it always was rewarded with finding an opportunity that was a step ahead. It wasn't truly a step backwards once I got there and realized it, and one thing led me to another. And if I look backwards on the path, I can connect the dots. I could have never looked forward and made those connections, because those connections didn't exist looking forward. They only exist looking backwards.
There you go. So your rearview mirror is what's more important at the moment.
I mean, in my experience, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
This industry is a fast-paced industry. There's a lot of chaos. You're a pretty low-key individual. How do you fit into this whole
I have so
thing?
much energy and enthusiasm. You just don't see it. But no, I'm just teasing. Well, I'm sorry, I interrupted. What was your question? I could feel him laughing at me. So
No, it's a bit of a loaded question because there's,
I don't know. I feel
the
like
little bit that I know of you.
going back to my parents and watching them. My dad was a Baptist minister. I live a very different life than I did at that time. Than people in my family. It's very different. But I look at, we had people come to our home on an almost weekly basis, and watching my mom pull a meal together when she didn't know people were coming over, watch my parents have this intuition about how to take care of people that were guests in their home. And I feel like that just became a natural thing. I can look across the room at a restaurant and I can just sense that somebody needs something. Right before people make an obvious gesture that they need something, I look at somebody and I say, I think that person needs something. And I think that's something I learned as a kid watching my mom and dad. So
that's some great intuition right there. Sixth sense.
yeah.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit and some more on Jeff. I found this quote of yours on Instagram that really stuck to me. That once in a while you discover a wine that is so unlike others, it seems profound. Can you tell me about that bottle and what made it special for you?
I had to look at your notes to remember what that bottle was, but
You cheated?
I think it's
completely cheated.
There's lots of wine in the world. Some of it is interesting to me, some of it's not interesting to me, and I feel like in the restaurant we know the farmers who grow our vegetables. We see them at the market every week. They eat in our restaurant. We have inside jokes with them. We have a relationship with them, and that's important to the produce that comes in the restaurant. I feel like the wines that we're drawn to are made by those same kind of people. We haven't met them all. The wineries that we love don't show up at the West Allis Farmers Market every week.
Imagine
but
that.
You could go and you could meet a farmer, his family. You could meet them. You could spend time with them. And the wine that I wrote that about is a person that I met in Spain. He had transformed a garage that cars used to be fixed at into a winery. It was more cramped than the studio. Just kidding. It was very tiny. Barrels and tanks and all that were shoved into this space. He climbed over barrels to stick a thief in it and give us a taste of his wines. But it was one guy. His wife worked in the office. His dad helped him in the fields, and it was a unique experience. And I am sure that informed how I felt when I tasted the wine.
Yeah.
Notably, it's the same winemaker, the very first bottle of wine that Kyle and I ever had together. We drank at a place called Square Wine in Madison. It was the same producer.
Yeah.
I feel like
right?
Exactly, and I feel like when that winemaker was passionate about what he did, and it somehow came through in the glass. So that was it.
That was beautiful. So can you tell me what the name of the bottle of wine specifically?
The winemaker is Converdura.
Okay.
I don't. It's a winemaker from the island of Majorca. Some of the Majorcan words are difficult to pronounce. That's not the bottle that Kyle and I drank, but it's a different one. And I remember, I just remember feeling like it was a unique thing for sure.
All right. Let's talk about those 2 stars from the New York Times. That's a huge milestone.
I've got 2 stars tattooed on my back.
Do you?
No.
So tell us, the average listeners, what that means, average viewers, what that means. And you're going to have to pat yourself on the back a little bit here. Sorry, this might not be your thing, but I want to understand, how'd you get there? What'd you do to get there? What does it mean to you personally? And where is it going to take you? So I asked you a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I want to hear the path.
Well, first off, that was a long time ago. New York Times, how many weeks are in a year?
52.
52. So they probably review 48 restaurants a year.
Yeah.
New York City has who knows how many restaurants. And so to get reviewed is like pretty special.
Yeah.
You don't always get a star. 1 star's good. It's a star system of 4. And like only fine dining, really high-end restaurants get 4, blah, blah, blah. But so it was amazing to get reviewed. The restaurant, I was 26. It was called Maysville. My partner, Sean Josephs, it was our restaurant. Family-owned restaurant, pretty small. But to get a New York Times review is great. To get a great one, it can change your business and life forever. And, I mean, it did that to Maysville.
Yeah.
Our sales went up tremendously for the rest of its time period.
Yep. Is that restaurant still in existence?
No, we sold it in 2018.
Gotcha.
I left the company probably a year before it was sold, but just something amazing to happen.
Yeah.
And a good process as a young chef to go through of the reviewer would come to your restaurant unknown 3 times. You don't know when, you don't know how. If you're smart, you're focused on it and you see them come in and so forth. And so we always noticed him when he came in, and he had a great time, and we had an incredible written review. The stars are one thing, but the way that the review was written was really amazing. And I think it gave me the opportunity to not worry about when critics or important people come in to eat, but at the same time made me understand, okay, it takes focus and discipline and all that good stuff as well. Years fly by. A writer from the New York Times came into Birch and put us on the top 50 list in the country, and once again, like, it changed our business forever, which is, to me, it's amazing, obviously. To me, the New York Times is the one opinion that means the most over everything, over Beard Awards, over Michelin, over it all.
Gotcha.
So,
how does a guy from New York come to Milwaukee? Again, my whole start of this is like I was blown away day one. I walked in here because I wasn't expecting to find this in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
This type of dining is
Sure.
just unbelievable to me. And that makes me look like a podunk hick. That's okay, because I'm from Wisconsin and I've always been here. I lived in Tennessee for a short period of my life after that, but but still, like,
Sure.
that thought process is like, okay, how does that happen? Somebody gets you in that list, which is a big, unbelievable list to get on,
Right.
And it's in Milwaukee. Not that you're like, how did they find you? Like, how did that happen?
I mean,
Happenstance?
I think more than ever, they travel the country to really look around. It's not about Chicago, New York, Atlanta, LA. It's not about these cities anymore. So they're diligent in what they do, and that's why I think their opinion matters the most, because it doesn't matter where the restaurant is or what it is. It matters what the restaurant is.
Awesome.
I mean, that restaurant closed in 2018. I just went to New York in March of this year to a wine event that I was working, and multiple times people, where do you work? Oh, I'm from Milwaukee. I work with Kyle, and people was like, oh, Maysville, I loved that restaurant. That was a great restaurant. And I know that we're on track to build something the same, if not better than that. And that's exciting for sure.
Love it. So some of that recognition preceded you from.
Yeah, I think
your
it all
past,
is like
yes,
it's all
adds up.
stepping stones for all of us.
Yeah. Love
For
it.
Sophie, your daughter that works with us, she stands on that stone too, you know?
Love that.
Yeah.
I love telling the story, but Kyle and I were in New York the day that New York Times article came out about Birch. We were in New York, and we were flying back that day, and have an app on my phone that tells me about people making reservations. And I would say at the time that review came out, on a weekday, maybe 30, 35 people would make a reservation each day for some that day forward 90 days. We took reservations 90 days in advance. 30, 40 people might make a reservation in any given day. We woke up, the New York Times article came out. We're on a plane, we fly back, we come to the restaurant that night, insanely busy. But the last time I looked at the app that day, over 400 people had made a reservation at Birch that day for either that day or sometime in the next 90 days. So we went from 30 to 40 people making a reservation to 400 plus people made a
That's not, like,
reservation that day.
Yeah, that's not like the reservations for tonight.
Yeah,
No,
that's
it was
in the next 90
booking.
days. Yeah,
Yeah.
for the next 90 days.
And
to get in. Yeah.
that just continued. And I remember at the time we had a conversation and we thought, boy, is this going to last? What will be the outcome of that? And Kyle said it a minute ago, but that changed Birch forever. And 400 people didn't make a reservation today, but we sustained that momentum from that one article. I feel like that was maybe the most important thing that happened
Well,
in
it was an opportunity,
Birch's
and
history for sure.
our team, their passion and hard work, they've sustained that. It's an opportunity, 100%. It's not, what's the saying? It's a privilege, not a, what's that saying? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I can't think of it though.
Either way, it's an opportunity, and it can be
We could have
easy.
blown it. We could have squandered it.
And
We could have
just
not lived
been
up
like,
to
okay,
it. But
the next 3 months are awesome.
Yeah.
But I think it helps for 3 months. I think the passion and the hard work and the focus is what's made it last, and will continue to last.
You're talking about keeping the gas pedal down.
Yeah.
With your passion.
Yeah,
your
for sure. Or the focus.
Regardless, yeah.
But not me,
With
not
that-
Jeff.
The whole
everybody that-
team.
Yeah.
But that comes from the top.
Yeah.
The two guys that I'm talking to, right?
Yeah.
That are projecting all of that and making that happen. Because if you guys don't project that and don't have that ambiance around you, your team's not doing that.
Right.
Those guys that are
Right.
sweating at
And that's like,
that open fire grill that are like dripping wet, like,
Right.
that's no fun if you're not on the same
and it's
team.
not just like focus and making sure the food's delicious, making sure people feel seen and the hospitality is great. It's also like, what can we do next month to do something fun? What can we continue to do? Should we build a podcast studio in our office room to continue? No, but it's true. It's like that's what it takes. It's like, it's all of that adding up.
Hey, this is about you. It's not about me being a psycho. Everybody,
But it's true.
Everybody
It's
who
like-
knows me knows I'm a freaking psycho. And this space might be small, but it's comfy, it's cozy,
No,
isn't
it's
it? Right?
great.
Oh,
are you guys
great.
are you guys
I'm
having
not-
any fun?
I'm not dissing
Sure.
it.
I
I'm
don't
being
think
real.
you're dissing it. No,
But it's truly like, it's about thinking about ideas, believing in them, and executing them,
Yeah.
and getting everybody to come along with it. It's a lot.
100% of the shots never taken never went in the net. You
Right.
got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to take the shot,
Right.
regardless.
Yeah.
And you've been doing that since you were 14 or so,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Took the shot. You've been doing it, and you might have been doing it in different opportunities, but the hospitality thing that you're bringing with your family and everything is just, it's molded you into the person you are to make you, an absolute compliment to this endeavor that you're on, which is amazing in itself. So the one thing that I do recognize that Jeff's a little, and this is what blows me away, because your position, front of the house, the hospitality leader that you are, you're kind of shy and kind of reserved and kind of laid back. And none of that's on here. Quit reading the questions. Quit reading the questions ahead of time. But I'm not. It's surprising to me the position that you're in, like, and how well you do at it. And I'm expecting a different personality, maybe. Am I wrong? I mean, I think you're a quiet, reserved individual, but you shine a different light when you're at the helm, when you're doing what you're doing.
I don't know. I think partly, I don't know. I'm very curious what he was about to say.
I was going to say, just
now,
say
but-
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Take the compliment and run.
I think maybe being a little quiet or a little more reserved to me is what makes me notice that person around the room before they need something that I just take it all in. I mean, this isn't the night that I did karaoke, but this Saturday night again, they played songs. It wasn't real karaoke. It was just music over the speakers. And I just had the best time just sitting there being a part of everybody having fun, but wasn't my thing necessarily to say, play this song and I'm going to sing. So
Will you guys come on the podcast again and we'll do an actual karaoke segment?
Yeah. I'm busy that day.
You're busy today? Come on, Jeff. Let your hair down. I'm the look a baby squirrel guy.
Okay.
Like, you don't get distracted like that. I do. Oh, look a baby squirrel. Like,
Yeah,
so
that's this guy. Squirrel.
yeah, for sure. And because of that, I got a very eclectic personality. But I would also say you have a very eclectic personality just from your path that I've kind of, discerned through my little R&D.
Okay.
And we didn't get on all of it, but you've weaved, just like you said, you've weaved through the dots. And looking back, you never could have planned where you're at right now. But God willing, you're where you're at, and it was meant to be, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right. Well, jumping back, because I did find the list of questions that I was looking for before, and it comes from a couple people that you may know. The first one's from Chef Matt, and he some questions, and some of this might be inside jokes. That I don't know. You can.
They're
feed to
probably
him.
not funny.
When did you know he was the one?
Matt?
Matt, like that? I don't know. That was the question. That was the question. So I think that was Matt asking, when did you know?
No, he's asking when I knew that Jeff would be the guy that wanted to work
he's
with
talking
me.
about
Gotcha.
himself,
No, he's not.
actually.
Yeah.
Jeff,
I was
and his-
thinking. I was thinking as Jeff, but the way you brought it up, I just wanted to
know,
roll with that a minute.
when we enter, like when my wife and I, or even at the past restaurants, when you interview people or when you sign on a company to represent you or anyone to represent you or work for you or whatnot, they're always excited to do it, but do they really know what they're signing up for? So like when somebody trails at Birch, it's like, hey, you come trail and watch. Make sure it's something that you love, and then we can have a conversation about, okay, then you'll come back and then we can watch you work,
Yeah.
But we got all of that watching out way before Jeff and I talked about coming to work at Birch. Him and his wife would come to Birch. And, I think what we do is amazing at the restaurant. But not everybody realizes how special it is. I think people who are appreciate great food and hospitality do, and it blows them out of the water. But Jeff and his wife were part of that, where they really loved it, and you could see it, and that's what drives us. I mean, go back to last week, back to Adam Pollock. I saw it was 6:15, and my phone buzzed, and it said open table, saying he was coming in for dinner. And I texted him and I said, "Oh, you're coming in, blah, blah, blah." And he was giving me shit because he thought I was giving him shit. And I said, "No, but serious, that was a Wednesday night. Since he was coming in, it would just turn a boring Wednesday night into something special." And we always felt like that when Jeff and his wife came in, and they knew what that meant. And I knew that he would understand how to replicate that and treat it the other way.
That's awesome. Love it. So that's how you knew he was the one. But if you could no longer work in the hospitality food industry, what would you want to do and why? If something catastrophic happened and just wasn't what you were capable of doing anymore, what would you do? I think that's actually a pretty good question.
Yeah, I think I would. I'm going to say that the question means I wouldn't go work at a wine shop, even more drastic than that.
Yeah.
Not food, not wine. I would figure out something in the community where I could make a difference. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's a tough, thoughtful question that you need more than 2 seconds to answer.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
mean, the Kinship, which used to be the River West Food Pantry. I definitely would spend some time there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the Apple Store.
I feel like I've realized that so much of the things I've done in the past are about or could be about hospitality. And I think if something, I don't want to do anything else, but if something truly prevented me from doing this, I think it would be fun to take the wisdom of years and the understanding of hospitality back to previous things I'd done and see how much better they would be with that.
So we'd be at the Apple Store together.
Maybe not the Apple Store though.
But it is
But-
a really,
It's an
like
interesting topic.
we haven't, I don't think we should go down this rabbit hole because my wife and kids will kill me if we're here for 4 hours. But like hospitality means so much, probably even more to other businesses besides restaurants.
Yes.
Where restaurants kind of started it. Well, they didn't start it. I mean, the hospitality is hospitable. I mean, it's like being in a hospital, you're taken care of and stuff. But nowadays, our mentors, guys who we look up to, use their knowledge and experience to help other businesses achieve what they want. But what's interesting, Jeff uses things that he learned at the Apple Store and at Starbucks in what we do now. So it kind of goes both ways,
Yeah.
which is, I think, pretty cool and awesome to think about.
Well, to me, just looking at it from an outsider looking in, you clearly know I don't know that much about it, but you're creating an atmosphere and an experience for a human being, and you're showing your love and passion through that, and that can transform itself through any business, and that's how you're going to retain customers,
Right.
And get that
Right.
that 5-star rating, whatever you want to call it, get repeat customers and all
Right.
that, and it's creating that experience in that environment, which is what you're amazing at. So, how does that translate to another business? I don't think it would take you very long now that you're at this level, that both of you at this level, to like translate that to something else that has nothing to do with anything you just talked about. I think it would be
Right.
pretty simple because you guys understand the keys of what it takes. Just now, how do you morph it into that
Right.
individual thing? So, what kind of feedback do you want from your guests, and how would you like it given to you?
I mean, I think the best thing is if a guest can tell you in the moment something that's not going well so that you have the opportunity to fix it right then. It's tough when somebody leaves a review online, not because it's public, because it's almost too late to do anything about it. It's too late to fix the situation that was frustrating in the first place. And maybe you can circle back and try to come up with some way to make it up, but somebody flags me over to the table and says what's not going well right then, that would be the easiest way to fix it, I think.
I like that.
I'm a big fan of immediate satisfaction. So with that, I also like in the moment would love to. I would appreciate someone saying, "This isn't the best pork chop I've ever had." I'd say, "Okay, let me go make it for you now, so it can be that."
That'd be unbelievable if somebody said that at your restaurant, but okay. They've had a couple of them, they're not bad.
Right.
They-
but that's true.
They're
Like
unbelievable.
I think it's an we don't want to lose the opportunity to make someone happy. So
Yeah.
in the moment.
Yeah.
By the way, I can't make the pork chop even. Like, I've tried now to make a couple pork chops, and they're just not as juicy and tender, and I don't know what you do to that thing, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. All right. While there's a lot of uncertainty still, how might the tariffs on wines impact Birch and Cassis? Like this, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's in my industry, something that I talk about on my podcast, the Mortgage 101 podcast, a lot. The fear and uncertainty of all this tariff stuff that's going on. What does it mean to the average consumer, to the average American, to the end user, to business owners like yourself? Like, it's going to impact you in some way. Are you guys thinking about that, or is it just off your radar? Whatever happens, it happens.
I don't think about it. I don't worry about it, but I do think that because in our particular case, most of our wine comes from places where we would see tariffs, eventually, we haven't quite seen it yet, but eventually we may see the wine that comes to us cost us more money. It'd be nearly impossible for a restaurant to not pass that along to the guest and charge more for it. Restaurants don't have that big of margins to begin with, and so it's a complex issue to solve. It's not as simple as change your wine list to all wine that comes from the United States. It's not quite that simple. That being said,
if
I
everyone
think
did that,
we'll,
then wines from the U.S. would disappear, and
There's just-
if they're still available, they'd cost more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be the same thing.
Yeah.
and also it would put people who bring those wines into the United States, it'd affect their companies. It's,
Right. I think like the biggest thing is it goes back to like Jeff was talking about the small winemakers. You know, the shitty part about it all. There's obviously these big houses that make these wines that really don't give it. They don't need the money, and I feel like they're the ones that are hurting the people that do need the money. We care about the small farmers, the people who don't produce a ton, but really, there's two importers that we see once a week, and their companies are the ones that are really impacted. But those individuals, their companies, those are the companies that help tell our story. You know, we get to use what they bring, we get to pour their wines, and if we lose those stories, and we lose a piece of who we are. He's bored with that. He's ready to roll the next one.
This is actually harder than you think to do this. Kyle, I'm just a dummy over here. For Kyle, you're if you had to open a third restaurant in Milwaukee, what would it be? You already have two great ones. Or one coming. It's coming in October, and we're already calling it great. Sorry about that. That might have been a little premature, but
I don't think we'll ever do something that doesn't have a meaning or a connection to us. Birch obviously was or has been and is the food that I love and like what I care most about. I worked in a French bistro for a long time, and so I have an obsession with that, and that's why we're doing Cassis. Whatever would be next would be something that obviously I think would do well in Milwaukee, but something that I like have a strong connection to. And I know what that is, but
you're not ready to put that out in the ether to the
yeah.
real
And I
world.
also we have some friends that are incredible bakers in the city. I'd love to open a bakery with them
Yeah.
because it is something that I feel like makes a food culture strong. You know, if Milwaukee has an incredible bakery, it just makes Milwaukee so much better.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in the Milwaukee restaurant
Yeah.
world right now, is there not?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot going on, and I love the collaboration between you and Adam and what's going on there that I see a lot, that's going on, and that's really, really cool. One of the big conversations that I got in with you the first time we met is you were talking about possibly opening, a Neapolitan type
Yeah.
pizza place.
Yeah.
I don't know where that ever is going or if it's not going anywhere ever, but and that's how we made the connection with Gino.
Right.
And that's something that's super. I've spent some time in Italy, and that's wild to me. Who doesn't like pizza?
Right.
I've really never met a bad pizza. I've met some that are better than others,
Right.
but I've never met a bad one. So, but yeah.
The whole pizza thing is on hold.
Yeah.
Who knows what will
Yeah,
happen?
who knows
but-
what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, winding this down because we don't want to keep you here all night long talking about this in this nice, cozy little spot. What's one piece of advice that you'd give someone trying to figure out their own why? And we've been talking about this indirectly. Like, how did you guys find your why? How did you get to where you're getting? How did you end up on the path you're on? And the deeper question is, and we've asked it, like, did you know that you found your why, and is your why changing along the way at any point in time?
I think as a chef or someone who cooks, obviously it's really easy for a young cook to look at food Instagram or in a book or whatnot and say, I want to go cook that food. And I didn't, kind of how Jeff was talking about looking in the rearview mirror, I didn't do this on purpose, but I only really worked for 2 chefs, Frank Stitt and Mike Anthony. And like I knew they cooked like seasonal American food, but I didn't really know what it involved tremendously. But I knew how much impact that they had on their community. And I don't know if that's the reason why I wanted to work for them or what. But the point is, to me, it's like I feel like we always have to learn from someone. So I think you find someone, no matter if it's someone who's selling mortgages or making podcasts or what, and follow. It doesn't even have to be their style or anything, but their passion. Find someone who's passionate about something and that are dedicated about it and absorb that. I think you want to find people and absorb the passion and the dedication, not necessarily the knife cuts and the recipes and stuff like that.
There's an energy that comes from that, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's by far the most important.
And that's the collaboration effect that happens when you get people in the room that are, kind of like-minded and have an energy, and you might not be doing the same exact thing, but your energy and your passion and for other human beings and what you're doing,
right.
You're drawn to that kind of stuff like a moth to a flame.
Yeah.
Is that a song? I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that your karaoke song?
Isn't that a Meatloaf song or something? I don't know, whatever. What about you? Want me to read the question again?
Oh, I think it's hard to figure out the why if you're focused on figuring out the why. Mm-hmm. And I think just doing things that you feel a pull towards and trying them out. Maybe everything doesn't work out, but again, I talked about the rearview mirror. If I look back in my rearview mirror, even the things that don't work out are part of what made me who I am, but more than that, of formed how I do things. And it's true that things that I learned at the Apple Store, I do at the restaurant now, but things that didn't go so well still affect how I do things now. And so if you sit in a chair and you don't do anything and you try to figure out the why, it's going to take you, I think, way longer to get there than if you just do it. And I think sometimes the reserved part of me doesn't seem like I just go do things. It takes me maybe a little longer. A little more thought goes into it. But at the end of the day, moving to California, leaving an office job and trying to be a bartender, all of those things were maybe crazy at the time, but I'm here, so it worked out.
Who's been your biggest cheerleader throughout this whole process?
Jeff Cleveland.
You've only known him a little bit, but that's your story.
No, I mean,
we're sticking to it.
Because everybody says their significant other,
yeah.
No doubt. But at least for me, like my story, I met Megan 3 months later. She said, I'm moving to New York. She hasn't met my parents yet. I probably would have stayed in Birmingham forever. So I followed her to New York. And so that was like the first part. But then financially, we could live in New York together because she made more money as a server, and we supported each other. In all that process of where I worked and what I did and her push, it definitely gave me the confidence to do whatever I want. So, I think that's really important. And most chefs don't have that support at home. I think chefs are attached to their restaurant so much, they kind of say, fuck that, and they don't care what's on the other side. Yeah. Nonetheless, like someone at home that says, I get it, do what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeff?
Mine is definitely my wife too. I think in our situation,
Your wife's name again is?
Kat. She works the exact opposite schedule that I do. Sometimes I'm amazed that she can work 9 to 5, 8 to 6 job, and we can still make this work. But I've never once wanted to do anything that she wasn't supportive of. But more than that, she also brings a wisdom to situations I'm in or problems that I'm facing, and chatting with them about her at times has been the thing that helped me figure it out. But I for sure would not be in this spot without that encouragement and support.
Love that. So the next question that's part of that, and it might, who also gives you the biggest pushback to help keep you,
Kyle Knall.
protect you from yourself, Kyle Knall. So, I mean, like you have people that are your cheerleaders and your total optimists. They're all these optimists for you, but then you also have that person in your life that's like, are you checking yourself at the door? Are you making sure that you're doing,
I mean, I think that goes hand in hand probably with that support.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also don't I think that can be a negative influence, and so it's like, who gives a shit about that?
Not a dream crusher, but somebody that's
Yeah,
like, hey,
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a funny thing. Like my dad he drove a beer truck and played golf for a living, both things, and like for him it was like, as long as you're happy, who cares?
Yeah.
And so I've actually never had really someone to say like, are you saving your money? Are you doing this? Are you doing that?
Just somebody that you bounce ideas off. That's the first person to say, are you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. How about just a straightforward mentor? Do you have anybody like
Yeah,
that?
I mean,
Your
my two chefs,
Yeah.
Frank Stitt, Mike Anthony.
Yeah,
Mike Anthony, probably a little deeper for me. You remind me so much of him, it freaks me out. But he obviously taught me how to cook. Big mentor.
I get people ask me all the time if I'm Joe Barlotta.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I see that for
A
sure.
lot of people. I've had 2 people come to me within a 30-day time frame and start crying because they thought I was Joe.
Wow.
And it was kind of weird.
Just hiding out in Milwaukee your whole
Like,
time.
it was kind of weird, and I never knew Joe personally, but
Yeah.
I've been at a restaurant or one or two, but that was kind of a weird experience. People walking on the street, 2 people walking on the street outside of Elsa's, grabbed me and said, "Are you Joe Barlotta, Pat?" It was just this really.
This is your second favorite restaurant in Milwaukee?
Elsa's?
Yeah.
No. My father back in the day owned the building next door to Elsa's.
Oh yeah.
And he actually had a phone line. This is like in the early 80s that went through the wall from his office into Elsa's because he would sit there and do his business from there. This is bizarro. So we were there all the time as a family, doing stuff down at Elsa's, and always have, I haven't been there in a long time, but it's just one of those places that has a lot of meaning because of my father.
Yeah. When I moved here, I had my heart set on buying Elsa's.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We had people park in that little spot to the garage door. Now, all the time, I was just like, how do people just go and park in there? And you like go get a tow truck, and we waited many nights because my dad would park inside the thing, and it was funny. But it's a great little spot.
Yeah.
It's fun. I haven't been there in years. Love to go there with you guys and have a meal.
Yeah.
If you guys want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. On me.
Sounds like a date.
On me. I know. I got in trouble for asking you on a date once before. But all right, we're going back to you. Like, who gives your pushback? Is it your wife as well, Kat? Or do you have a mentor type person that?
I feel like I don't. When people talk about having a mentors or Kyle's stories about the people he's worked with, I don't feel like I've ever had anybody like that. I do think back to my parents as being so foundational to the kind of person that I turned out to be. I would say it hasn't always been easy, but the relationship that I have with Kyle and the way that he has at times challenged me about things has certainly, even in this short period of time, changed a lot about how I think about things, and the idea of just making something happen has stretched me a little bit. But I don't know. I just feel like I missed out on the whole mentor thing, but just tried to learn from as many situations as I could more than people.
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me like you have you have a mentor inner voice that comes from your family from a long time ago that was instilled in you at an
think I
earlier
do.
age, and similar to you, you probably have that same inner voice. It's a different path. It's just like, hey, you said it yourself. Like your dad was happy-go-lucky. I'm gonna make it happen. And we talked about this before we got on air. Like I'm a big believer in manifestation, and like you have the power to bring on what you want of yourself if you believe.
Yeah, if you back it up. I think right.
Yeah. I think that all goes hand in hand. So you don't necessarily need a mentor, but sometimes you need someone to say, check yourself.
Sure.
Are you doing the right stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I've needed that. I've done a lot of really crazy things over my lifetime, and But anyway, all right. Really appreciate both you guys coming on here. Hope you guys enjoyed this.
This was fun. Thank you.
Heard some great stories here. Hopefully, you didn't take you too far down the path, Jeff.
Nope, I'm
what,
good.
What
I
you
learned
did,
a lot today.
what you didn't want to know. You didn't learn.
Yeah, I
you
did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Good. But I'm super interested in the story. I hope I can get you guys on again because I'm interested in the path, how you got there, what drove you, and we could spend 5 hours on all this.
For sure.
To find out, what were the little steps along the way that you can reflect on and go, yeah, that was something that was an epiphany at the time, and I didn't know it was an epiphany.
There's one. So when I worked for my brother, he was the chef de cuisine of a restaurant. The two owners were also chefs. My brother moved on to open a business. I found out that Frank Stitt, my mentor, had a job opening, and I went and trailed there. They offered me the job. We were closed Sunday, Monday at Daniel George. On a Monday, I went in to talk to George. I said, hey, I'm going to go work for Frank. And he's like, why? Gave me all this bullshit. Your two best friends work here. Why are you leaving? You can't leave, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. So I went and got in my car. I sat there, and I went back inside, and I said, I got to leave. Like that, to me, my barber had a thing on his wall last week that said, like, what was the fork in the road that if you didn't do, your life would be different? That was like 100% the moment. And then my barber said he actually moved to New York. And I said, well, I did that too, but I would have never moved to New York if I never had taken that first leap.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That was just a gut moment that you had that said, hey, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And I got people that I actually respect and friends right now that are saying no, stay here with us.
Yeah.
But you made a conscious decision and like, screw that. There's an opportunity here.
Cool.
Hey, quit cheating. Just appreciate you guys coming here on Dang That's a Good Story. This is an opportunity for you to tell me about anything coming up, anything more you want to tell us about Birch on Pleasant, anything more, any of your other buddies that are out there doing some fun stuff. This is your moment. Take as long as you want. Spit it out. What do you want?
What do we have coming up at Birch, Jeff? We have wine dinner this Thursday. We're going to be pouring some amazing wines from California.
Snowden from Napa Valley.
Okay.
That's Thursday the 12th.
Okay.
And then on the 19th, we're doing a dinner that is a repeat. We did a version of this last year with John Marcus. Kyle can tell us about him, but it'll be fun and unlike most things that we do at Birch, but it'll be a great time.
Yeah, so a good friend, John Marcus, Emmy Award-winning comedy writer, turned barbecue Hall of Fame member. He's coming just to do a dinner with us. We're going to barbecue out in front of the restaurant, or we're going to smoke some meat for probably 8 hours and then serve it in a 4-course meal at the restaurant.
Awesome.
After that, at 9 o'clock, we're going to have an industry party. And so any cook, any server, anyone that loves food wants to come hang out, have some free food and drinks. That's going to happen at 9 o'clock at Birch. The One Ask. So some of the proceeds are going to a foundation called the Southern Smoke Foundation. Okay. This amazing organization based out of Houston that helps raise money for people in our industry. I was at dinner a few months ago in Philly with the founder, and a server came out to the table and said, "Thanks so much. My husband was in a car wreck 5 months ago, and Southern Smoke has taken care of his wages since he hasn't been able to work." So it's a foundation that works and supports who we are, and so we love to give back to them. And so the dinner that we're doing, proceeds will go to that. But then that we ask, come hang out with us afterwards and just donate something and hang out and get to know John and eat some food and drink some drinks.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Love that.
And then we have a cassis pop up every last Thursday of every month.
I was just at that last week. My wife has been saying, absolutely, we got to go. That was really good. It's wonderful.
I would say follow Birch on Instagram at Birch on Pleasant, or go to our website, birchonpleasant.com. Sign up for our newsletter. Those are the two ways to hear about what we're doing. There's always something fun going on. So
awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on again to Dang, That's a Good Story. We spent a lot of time here talking about a lot of different things. Hopefully it just wasn't super annoying.
No, it's great.
This is fun. Thank
to
you.
me, it's super interesting to find out about you guys and find out what's going on. And hopefully my viewers are going to appreciate this too. We're going to pump this out, and hopefully your viewers and your people that love your restaurant, which you have a ton of them.
We'll follow. Dang, that's a good story. No, it was great. It was a great
This
time.
was fun. Thank you.
Just spitting it right out there, right?
Yeah.
No, but this is just fun. Like,
Yeah,
for me, it's
of course.
for me, it's all about this. And the day that I met you guys at your restaurant, because my daughter Sophie was a lot of fun. She gets mad because I'm totally interested in hearing more about you guys, but get over it, Sophie. So I want to hear what you guys got, and love your restaurant, love what you guys do. Your show is amazing, and it's a show. You guys put on an amazing show every time I'm there. So super, super glad. Again, thanks for listening, everybody. If you guys want to reach out, message me. Hopefully you'll like this episode of Dang, That's a Good Story. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Go check these guys out. We're going to put some information up how you can go check these guys out. Go check out Birch on Pleasant. You're going to have an amazing experience. I hope you got all that and how much love and passion is involved in all that. So looking forward to the next episode, you guys. Thanks much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Dang, that's a good story. Huge shout out to Chef Kyle Knall and Jeff Cleveland with Birch on Pleasant for joining us today. If this conversation inspired you, share it with a friend, leave us a review, and let us know your own why. Tag us at Dang, That's a Good Story, and or use hashtag Dang, That's a Good Story. Remember, it's the journey that makes the story, and sometimes the best stories are the ones you never saw coming. Until next time, keep chasing your dreams and making Dang, That's a Good Story.